Often on my podcast, which by the way, my podcast, Transform Your Life from the Inside Out, has millions of downloads. Many times people will ask me questions. And somebody once asked me, Jim, how can I find inner peace through spiritual practice? Let's look at that. How do you find inner peace through spiritual practice? First off, all peace is internal peace. See, anything out here in the world, anything out here that's happening doesn't have anything to do with what's going on inside of you. What's going on inside of you is what you choose to have go on inside of you. What's going on inside of you is where you choose to hold your attention and choose to hold your thoughts. So, all these things that are outside of you that create all this disharmony internal are all external things. So the way to have more internal peace is to become oblivious, so to speak, to these things that really disturb your inner peace. Let me share a perspective with you I learned many years ago. Many years ago, I saw this guy in a parking lot, this man and woman. He was a big guy, about 6'4", and she was a really small woman, maybe 5'2", very diminutive. And she was a little more seasoned, probably in her 60s. I'd be careful tossing stones because I'm in my late 50s. I was going to say an older woman, but let's say more seasoned. So she was a more seasoned woman, and this guy was a big, burly, kind of like maybe an off-duty police officer. I'm stereotyping, but I'll tell you why I'm doing that. But anyway, he was a bigger guy, and what happened was I believe she clipped him with her car, and they got into an argument, and she slapped him, which I found a little interesting, a little crazy. And I was shocked. He slapped her back, and he hit her actually pretty hard. Now, I had learned over the years that men do not hit women, and I was somewhat inclined to intervene. But the fire station was there, the fire truck was there, and they were buying food for the firehouse. They intervened. I told my brother-in-law about this, the shaman, Don Javier, and again, not the one on YouTube. And he said, you know what? These two people, through their ego and their ignorances, created this. And let me back up here, is when the guy slapped her the second time, his shirt came up in the back and there was a gun under his shirt. And in that moment, that's why I alluded to earlier, I think maybe he was an off-duty police officer. And this was a lot of years ago, like 20 years ago. And my brother-in-law said, he goes, you know what? The guy could have erased you from the planet. These two people got into their egotistical nonsense, and then you wanted to intervene. Despite your human thinking that men should not hit women, guess what? This is something they created. And then what he said to me, to shorten this, is what pertains to you. So think about that for a moment. What in the world pertains to you? Someone asked me about this famous person who committed suicide. Now, this person didn't know the famous person. And they said, Jim, how should we feel about that? Well, that's what they did. I mean, they're living their karma. They're living their experience. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't pertain to me. And we can think, well, what Putin does, it affects commodity prices, which affects food prices and inflation. But when you live a truly spiritual life, it really doesn't when you live from the inside out. So where I work from, all these things that are happening in the world, this person doing this, that person doing that, this politician doing this, that politician doing that, what I look at is what really pertains to me. And then where I go also is, this is pretty simple, but what pertains to me is what I make pertain to me. What pertains to me is what I choose to pertain to me. And I'm going to couple this with something else I heard many years ago. The Dalai Lama said, or the Buddha, I don't know which one, as I understand. I wasn't there, I didn't hear it personally. I read it online, and we know that everything we read online is true, right? I'm just kidding. But I heard it many years ago, and the Dalai Lama said, or the Buddha said, do not let anyone steal your internal peace. So what I look at is what things would steal my internal peace based upon my belief in my value system. And if those things would steal my internal peace, guess what? I have to manage how I manage my thoughts. I have to manage my attention. And I have to ask myself, what pertains to me? Am I making this mean something that it really doesn't mean to me, but I'm making it mean something to me because I'm making it pertain to me? So, food for thought, ask yourself, it's an important question, write it down. Ask yourself, does this pertain to me? And if it does, how does it pertain to me? And in particular, things that are stealing your inner peace, ask yourself, how does it pertain to me? Let me give you a short example. I live in Sedona, Arizona, and we have 4 million visitors a year. And a lot of people just don't know how to drive on what's called roundabouts. They're traffic roundabouts. And I've had many, many people, like every second day, cut me off. I could be upset about it, but I'm not. Why? Because what they're doing, it might on the outside appear that it pertains to me, but it doesn't. It's their behavior. It has nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is my interpretations about what they did. They don't know how to drive in roundabouts. But am I going to let it steal my internal peace, or am I going to let it pertain to me? And the answer is no. All right, I'll say on every video, we live in a very tumultuous world. The world needs us. The more that we grow and evolve, the more service we can be in the world and help all of our world become a better place. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over on another video. Bye-bye.